And welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment of our program brought to you by Madisonville Marine. By the way, coming up not this week, but the next week, you're going to have Madisonville Marine in Knoxville for the Downtown Boat Show. That's coming up. But also right now, you can get great deals on, well, they always have great deals on all their boats, but right now specifically G3 boats, you can get $1,500 back on the select models of G3 in terms of rebates, but also G3 has a military service appreciation instant rebate. So if you are active military, retired military, and that includes National Guard, you can get another $1,000 on top of that. So you can get up to $2,500 back in rebates if you buy a G3 boat at Madisonville Marine right now. Get down there and check them out, Highway 411 North in Madisonville. I introduce now the next member of our panel who has a boat from Madisonville Marine, yes, Bob Hodge. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us.
I'm glad to be here.
Well, if we thought that hiring a new coach would take care of the injury/medical things, we're wrong. I saw it reported yesterday by VolQuest.com. Was the first place I'd seen it, that Trey Smith out for spring. It's a medical issue. In terms of, does that mean injury? Does that mean something was revealed in testing? It's kind of vague at the moment, but the belief is that he will be back for fall. Still, you just lost. Let's say that the medical issue testing reveals something that could be big or that could be small. All right, so let's take that and put that aside. Let's just talk about spring. How big of an issue is it that you have one player on your team who I think would play at Alabama?
Yep.
And that's the guy that right now you lose? Bob,
and you're going into a spring where you're going to be changing the offense, where he's going to be very important. How much is he going to be limited now going into the fall on not learning some things? I mean, Trey Smith, I think, is a great football player, enjoying the next 2 years because when he's a senior, I don't think he'll be here. But it wouldn't be so bad if it was doing what you did last year, but the fact that you're putting in a totally new offense, I think that's probably gonna hold him back a little bit. I still think he will be the best player on your football team, though.
I think the two areas where you need to build the most chemistry probably in football is with your offensive line and your quarterback receiver, right? Well, your offensive line is going to have trouble building chemistry without Trey Smith in there. Now, he's really good, and so maybe you just say line up and just block that guy and he'll do it. But still, when you put in the offense that Bob's talking about, I think that is a blow to not have him.
In the past, we've talked about, because it's been like 2 or 3 springs in a row now where we've had guys out. We've said, well, backups get to play. You get them more experience. Yeah, that doesn't show up in the fall. So let's take that positive out of it. Guys, if you looked at this team and you said where are the biggest issues going into spring, you'd say offensive line, defensive line, quarterback, and probably cornerback are the big issues. And here, offensive line, where you're going to have some changeover there. You don't have a lot of depth there. You're installing a new system there. I think this is a big issue. Do you agree?
I'll be the sunshine pumper here, Pollyanna. If anybody can miss spring practice and come back and be fine in the fall, it's, to me, the best player on the team, Trey Smith. So if he is, in fact, going to be back fine by the fall,
And I would go that it's just below big, but I want him to be at spring practice. I want him to be able to watch what's going on, and then I want him to be healthy. And as long as you can get all of those accomplished, then, yeah, I mean, it kind of makes you wonder, how's this going to work out? Because your offensive coordinator's already said, well, we're going to run the ball. Well, your best offensive lineman ain't going to be there to help do that and get that going in spring practice. So,
and he was someone who's developing into a leader too. So
right.
I would kind of, you're going to have some early enrollees, freshmen, that you're going to have to work into this rotation some way or somehow because you're just thin. So those guys are going to be called upon in spring practice to do probably more than they would have. Well, where Pruitt comes from at Alabama, he wouldn't be having this issue. So you're going to be calling on those young guys. It would be helpful to have, King Kamehameha there leading the charge, but you don't have the leader calling the shots. To me, I just don't want to be the Mr. Negative on this one, but that one, based on Tennessee's history, a lot of that's just luck, pure luck, but based on Tennessee's history, I see this as a bad warning sign.
I'm going to put it, if you're going to go on a level of concern, 1 being none, 10 being a lot, terrible. I think this is probably somewhere around right in the middle. I mean, as long as he's back in the fall, he is your best football player.
And what's the football coach going to spend beyond it? Somebody else is going to get an opportunity they otherwise weren't going to get.
Which again, we say
once
every
again,
spring.
we talked about that now for 2 years.
I know.
It never shows. You know, we see a lot of those guys in the fall too, and they suck. So
Just they might suck worse if they hadn't got those reps in the spring.
I mean, it's,
Thank you, Paulie.
You know, I would rather have first string than second string or third string. Is the way I'm looking. You know. The other thing, though, is does the line develop? Yes, okay, he's a great player. You can plug him back in. He can miss the time. But how much does it hurt the rest of these guys to not have him there leading?
I think you'll have a chain reaction.
Wouldn't you want your best?
Yes.
Oh, look at the way he's doing it. Do it like him. Oh, look at the way he works. Work like him. You don't have that now.
You know, I mean, it's going to, everything from your combo blocks to pulling to everything is impacted by not having your best player there.
If there was one guy that you said, oh, it can't be without him this spring, I think I would have said Trey Smith.
Well, but then who's also the one guy you don't want to lose in spring practice because he gets hurt?
Trey Smith.
Trey Smith.
So it's a positive that he's out with a medical issue. Okay.
No, it's a positive, but he's not going to be getting hurt in spring practice.
Okay. That's part of the sport.
Can we go to commercial? I'll work that through my mind a little bit.
Part of the sport.
Okay, we're better off without it.
Spring practice starts on March 20th. March 20th. We'll have tons of spring practice coverage right here on the Sports Source once spring practice gets rolling. And we'll talk a little bit later about my negative take on what this means for the Tennessee football team. That'll be later in the show. Next, Mark Pankratz rejoins us, and we're going to talk about this basketball scandal. 27 schools have been named in one way or another, having players that had dinner with an agent to having coaches that were caught on wiretaps talking about $100,000 payments. It's a big, wide spectrum here. We'll discuss with Mr. Pankratz about how prevalent cheating is in college hoops. Come on back.